Our most recent presidential election has upset and shocked many Americans. One of the most controversial elections in history, the presidential election was all anyone could talk about for most of 2016. Although most cannot vote, many high schoolers had very strong opinions about the election. Some avidly supported our current president, Donald Trump, while others detested him. If teenagers could have voted, how would they have, and what does this tell us about the demographics of who voted for our current president?
Hi, I'm Martin Armstrong. I am a senior at Webster Groves High School.
Hi, I'm Drew Baker. I go to MICDS.
Maddie Osborne, Parkway South.
Hi, I'm Cecily Turner. I go to Farmington High School.
Tina Lawrence. I go to Metro High School.
I would have voted for
Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton.
Trump.
I vote for Hillary.
How much do you think that your parents' political opinions influence yours?
I would say that my dad is definitely not as left as I am, but I was raised in a Catholic household, which has always taught like doing good for others and stuff like that. So I would say that the Democratic Party aligns more with that.
I think that they have definitely some influence, but not completely, as to that having changed who I would have voted for, because we both would have voted for the same candidate, but for very different reasons.
I think they influence mine a lot because both my parents are attorneys, and even though they don't work in the justice system and like for social justice or whatever, they're both active in our community. My mom does legal support when people get arrested during protests, and my dad is on city council and ran on the platform of uniting Black Webster versus White Webster.
I think slightly, not too
Slightly,
much,
but not totally.
Yeah.
I think my parents are a pretty big influence on me. I mean, when I was younger growing up and now, I guess I was really impressionable, and I am really impressionable, and their liberal values that they sort of instilled in me have stayed there.
Do you believe the majority of your school would have voted the same way as you?
Absolutely not.
I think it's really hard to get a good read on what the school would have voted for, because there's lots of people who are more vocal in their opposition to the elected president versus people who speak in support of him.
I don't think so. I think if anything, the majority would have been Bernie. We had a lot of Trump supporters and a few Hillary supporters, but the vote was split between Bernie and Hillary and would have leaned towards Bernie.
Yeah, I definitely do think that Metro is a pretty liberal school.
Definitely.
When we did ours, like a school poll, it was half and half, but I mean, most people that I know would have voted for Trump.
Are there any of Trump's policies that you have strong opinions on?
Yes, most of them. I think most recently an interesting one would be Puerto Rico, just because he's insulted the mayor of San Juan, and he's been very slow to act with Puerto Rico, and I think that all has to go back to the fact that I personally believe that Donald Trump does not prefer people of color.
Yes, the number one policy is that I'm pro-life. I agree with a lot of Hillary Clinton's other parts of her platform and things that she stands for and what Democrats stand for. But because I'm so strong in my pro-life, I would have to go with the candidate, no matter whether I like him or not, that supports pro-life.
I really support like no abortions and gun control. I think those are like the two things I believe in the strongest.
Abortion #1.
Yeah.
I feel pretty strongly, I know it's not a policy, it's just something he said, but I feel like his statements, we're going to build a wall on the border with Mexico, and that we're going to make Mexico pay for it. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Another thing, the Trump's decision, and I guess other people's decision, to pull out of the Paris Agreement later, I don't like that very much. I just don't understand how people, when presented with evidence and stuff, how they don't believe in climate change.
How do you feel about Trump's presidency?
Like most of America, I think he's done a terrible job so far, and I think he's just added to the division in our country, and I don't think he's doing this for the American people. I think he's doing it for himself.
I feel like there's definitely some things that I disagree with that he's done so far, but I feel like as far as my number one issue being pro-life, he has made some strides in that category for me at least, but I think there's definitely room for improvement.
I feel like most people who don't like Trump, I think it's an American tragedy. I am embarrassed for our country, and I am scared for the future, which is a cliche thing to say, but I think it's really reasonable.
I think there's some things that he could definitely change. That being like maybe supportive more like Puerto Rico and stuff, and like places other than just like the states. But
Yeah,
I mean,
I guess.
there are some things that I do support, and then some things that I don't.
The environment we grow up in has a huge impact on our political views. The first political opinions we hear are that of our parents, so we often align ourselves with their ideals, which often align with the ideals of others in our community. The opinions we form now will also likely remain our opinions for the rest of our lives.